Most people have never stopped to think that the direction of the staircase at the entrance of their home may be saying something about the flow of prosperity in their life. And Kabbalah has a surprising answer to that. Shalom, shalom. I'm glad you're here today. Close your eyes for a second. Think about the entrance of your home. Now think, when you go up that staircase, if you have one, or when you enter through the front door, where does your body naturally move? To the right? To the left? You've never paid attention to that, have you? Well then, today you will understand why the sages of the Jewish tradition paid a lot of attention to this, not as superstition, but as deep wisdom about how the human being positions themselves in front of abundance. My name is Deem, and on this channel I bring teachings from the Jewish and Kabbalistic tradition in a way that you can apply in your real life. Today the theme is this. There is a principle in Kabbalah called sulam, which means ladder, and it goes far beyond a physical object. It speaks about how you ascend, how you descend, and in which direction you are spiritually oriented when you do so. If this teaching is new to you, subscribe now and activate the bell, because this type of content I bring here every week. And tell me in the comments, do you have a ladder at home? What is the first thing you see when you enter? I want to know. Before diving into the details, let me tell you a story that I've heard in my family since I was a child. It's a story that my grandfather liked to repeat when someone in the family was going through financial difficulties. He said it was a story of a Jewish merchant who arrived in Brazil in the early last century, coming from a small town in Eastern Europe. Like many immigrants of that generation, he arrived without material resources. He carried with him, however, something that no border can confiscate: the teachings he held inside. This merchant had a strange habit that caught the attention of the neighbors. Every time he entered his small shop, he paused for a moment at the door. He would stand there, eyes closed, for perhaps 10 seconds. Then he would enter. The neighbors found it eccentric. Some thought he was praying. Others thought he was simply a tired man. But one day, a more curious neighbor asked, "What do you do every time you enter your shop?" And the merchant calmly replied, "I am checking my direction." The neighbor did not understand. The merchant then explained a principle he had learned from his father, who had learned from his grandfather, which came from a long chain of oral transmission. Before entering a space where you will work, where you will seek your livelihood, you need to know which way you are facing. Not just physically, spiritually. This teaching, my friend, is what we are going to explore today. And I promise that before this video ends, you will understand what Kabbalah calls kivun, direction, and how it is connected to your parnasa, which is your sustenance, your prosperity. Today you will discover 3 things. First, what the principle of sulam in Kabbalah is, and why it is one of the most powerful images in the entire Jewish mystical tradition. Second, what direction has to do with the flow of shefa, divine abundance, and why so many people block this flow without realizing it. Third, a practical guidance exercise that you can start today, and that, with consistent practice, cultivates a more conscious and open relationship with prosperity. Let's start from the beginning. In the Torah, in the book of Bereshit, which is Genesis, there is a scene that Kabbalists have studied for centuries. Yaakov, the patriarch Jacob, is fleeing. He is alone in the desert at night. He lies down to sleep using a stone as a pillow. And then he dreams of a ladder, a sulam, that goes from the earth to the sky, with angels ascending and descending. Now, notice something fundamental. The angels first ascend, then descend. This seems counterintuitive, right? Most people would imagine the opposite, angels coming from heaven to bring blessings to the earth. But the text clearly states, first ascending, then descending. The Talmud commentators explain this in a way that will change how you think about prosperity. They say that the angels who were ascending were the angels that accompany the human during the day, the earthly angels. And those who were descending were the heavenly angels who would come to meet him. But before receiving, the human needs to ascend. He needs to elevate himself. The flow descends after the intention ascends. This has a name in Kabbalah, Itaruta dilatata, the awakening from below. Before the blessing descends, something needs to move within you. And this movement, This elevation of your intention, your consciousness, your kivun, is what opens the channel. Let's talk about what blocks this channel, because this is where most people get stuck. There is a concept called klipot, literally shells or covers. In the Kabbalistic tradition, klipot are the layers that cover the light. They are not necessarily external entities. Often they are internal patterns, beliefs, habits, ways of thinking about money, about worthiness, about what is possible for you. And here is the central point of today's teaching. The direction in which you are oriented mentally and spiritually determines whether you are ascending this ladder or descending. Whether you are opening yourself to shefa, to the flow of abundance, or whether you are, without realizing it, blocking its arrival. Think with me. You wake up in the morning. Your first awareness is about what you do not have, about debts, about bills, about what is lacking. This guidance, this inner direction, is positioning you in relation to the klipa of scarcity. You are not rising. You are standing on the step looking down. Now imagine the opposite. You wake up. Your first guidance is to recognize what already exists, the roof over your head, the breath in your lungs, the possibility of a new day. This is what Kabbalah calls hodah, gratitude, which is not simply a beautiful emotional practice. It is a spiritual technology. It is the action of ascending the first step of the sulam before anything else happens. Imagine someone like Andre, a professional who for years worked hard and saw little financial result. When he began to study these principles, what changed first was not his salary. It was his orientation upon waking. He started doing what we will teach today, and over time, without me being able to promise you a specific time frame, because each person is unique, his relationship with opportunities began to change. Not because money fell from the sky, but because he began to recognize opportunities that previously went unnoticed, because his mental orientation had changed. Now let's talk about the Hebrew terms you need to understand for this practice to make sense. The first is sulam, ladder. We have already talked about it, but I want to expand. The sulam in Kabbalah is not just a physical ladder or a dream vision. It represents the principle of gradual ascent. No one jumps from the first step to the last. Prosperity, spiritual and material growth, is built step by step, and each step requires correct kivun. The second is kivun, direction. This is the central principle of today. In Jewish law, when you pray, you orient yourself towards Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. This is not just a geographic tradition. It is a principle that says the direction in which you point your intention matters. Where is your heart when you act, when you work, when you ask, when you receive? The third term is shefa, which means flow, abundance, fullness. In Kabbalah, shefa is the divine abundance that flows continuously from the Ein Sof, the infinite, through the Sefirot to the material world. It never stops. It never dries up. What varies is the capacity to receive, and that capacity is your keli, your vessel. Keli is the fourth term, vessel. One of the most used metaphors in Kabbalistic literature is this. Imagine the rain falling. It falls equally on everyone. But who receives more water? Those who have the larger vessel, positioned correctly, open upwards. Shefa works like this. The question is never, how do I make shefa arrive? The question is, how do I expand my keli, my vessel? And the fifth term, which is fundamental to our practice today, kavanah, directed intention. Kavanah is more than just thinking about something. It is the unification of the mind, heart, and action around a purpose. When the merchant from my family's story stopped at the door before entering, he was practicing kavanah. He was aligning his intention before acting. Now let's move on to the practical part, because everything we've seen so far needs to come out of theory and into your real life. This exercise is called tikkun hakivun, the correction of direction, and you will do it for 21 days. Why 21? Because Jewish tradition understands 21 as a number of completeness in cycles of transformation. 3 cycles of 7. It's not magic. It's consistency. Step 1. Upon waking, before picking up your phone, before checking the news, before any external stimulus, sit at the edge of the bed and take 3 deep breaths. As you inhale, say internally the word in Hebrew, Shefa. As you exhale, say Hoda'ah. Abundance comes in, gratitude goes out. 3 times. This aligns your kivun right at the start of the day. Step 2. Identify a space in your home or at your work where you regularly deal with finances, where you pay bills, where you work, where you make money decisions. This space will receive special attention. Before entering it, take a 10-second pause. Consciously say, I enter here as a channel of Shefa, not as a slave of Klippah. It can be silent, it can be in a low voice, but say it. Step 3. At night, before sleeping, take an honest inventory, not of how much money you have or do not have, but of how many times throughout the day your guidance was towards Shefa and how many times it was towards Klippah. Without judgment, with observation, a wise trader reviews their inventory every day. Do the same with your consciousness. Step 4. Once a week, during these 21 days, write in a specific notebook, which you will call Sefer Kivun, the Book of Direction, one thing you noticed that was oriented towards scarcity and how you redirected it. Just one thing per week. It doesn't have to be big, it can be very small. Writing anchors the change. Step 5. At the end of the 21 days, reread what you wrote. You will notice a pattern. This pattern is your most persistent klipa, the shell that resisted the most. And recognizing the enemy is already half the battle. The result that this practice cultivates, consistently, is a progressively more open, more conscious orientation, more aligned with the principle of Sulam. You begin to ascend more deliberately, and when you ascend, the Shefa descends. Before reaching the final blessing, I need to tell you something important about the resistance you will encounter. In the first few days, the practice will seem artificial. It may seem like you are simply repeating words without feeling anything. This is normal. This is expected. Jewish tradition has a concept for this, Aseh lecha rav, make for yourself a master. But there is also the principle of Na'aseh v'nishma, which comes from Exodus, where the people of Israel said, we will do and then we will understand. Action comes first. Deep understanding follows later. Don't wait to feel before you act. Act first. The feeling comes with practice. Your mind will also try to sabotage. It will say this is nonsense, that it won't work, that you've already tried so many things. This is the klipa of disbelief, and it is one of the most resistant. When that voice appears, simply acknowledge, I am noticing resistance. That's okay. I will continue. And there is one more thing. Internal transformation often precedes external transformation. You may practice this for days and not see immediate financial change. It's not that it's not working, it's that the sulam has steps. You are building the foundation. Don't give up on the 7th day, complete the 21. Today you learned the principle of sulam, the ladder that connects the human to the divine in the Kabbalistic tradition. You understood that before the Shefa descends, the itaruta dilatata needs to rise. The awakening has to come from you. You got to know the 5 fundamental terms, Sulam, Kivun, Shefa, Keli, and Kavanah. And you now have a practical exercise of 21 days, the Tikkun HaKivun, to start correcting your direction and expanding your vessel. If you practice and notice something, a change in perspective, a different decision, an opportunity you recognized where you didn't see it before, I would love to hear. It doesn't have to be a miracle. It can simply be, I did the practice and felt more centered. That is already real and valuable. Come back here and share in the comments. These accounts help others stay committed to their own practice. And now, before you go, I want to bless you. May the eternal, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, the Blessed Holy One, open before you the perception of the Sulam that already exists in your life. May He illuminate your kivun so that your direction is always towards the light and the Shefa. May He expand your keli so that you can receive with joy and awareness everything that has already been prepared for you. May He grant you patience to climb the steps with faith, even when you do not see the top. And may He place beside you people who ascend together with you. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May His will be so. Amen. If this teaching was useful to you, leave a like. This helps the channel reach more people who seek this type of content. Subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss the next teachings. And share with someone you trust who you think could benefit from this study. Next week, we will talk about tzedakah, which is not simply charity, but one of the most precise mechanisms that Jewish tradition describes for the flow of prosperity. You will understand why giving opens channels that accumulating closes. Don't miss it. Until then, shalom.